So there's something in regards to trauma that I don't think is talked about enough. It's a trauma response, and I just went through it, and it's fucking scary, okay? And I think because, no, I know because of hustle culture, I didn't realize that I was going through it. I left my abusive relationship in the start of October, and I disassociated because I was in hypervigilance mode for 4 months. I only had one night in those 4 months where I had kind of snapped out of hypervigilance mode. And what happened was I was sitting in this room here in Florida and I was painting. And that's why I know I had put off painting for a while, because when I'm painting, I'm thinking, I'm doing shadow work, I'm processing. And I started painting. I'm working on this commissioned piece for somebody. And I sat here and I looked at my hands even and looked around, and it hit me. Like, I'm in fucking Florida. I moved to the other side of the country. I just got out of an abusive relationship. And then I started thinking about that relationship and what happened in the relationship. And during hypervigilance mode, when the relationship would get brought up, it didn't feel real. It was like a dream. Like, I could talk about what happened in the relationship. I remembered it, but I felt so detached from it that it didn't feel real. And that is because during hypervigilance, your brain and your body is trying to protect you from trauma. I was not in a position where I could process what had happened because I went into another environment that was triggering. And then I snap out of it after a few months. I had moved into this place. I started a business, had 6 streams of income, working my ass off. That's what I did the whole time I was in hypervigilant mode because I had to. I didn't feel like I had any other choice. I needed to get into my own place and as far away from anyone or anything that felt familiar to that relationship. And when I snapped out of that hypervigilant state, I immediately put the pains away. And I was like, nope, I can't process this right now. I have too much to do, because I started realizing this living environment that I'm in right now was toxic for my mental health as well. So I just shoved it back down and kept working. And everyone was saying, you're so strong. I don't know how you're doing this. Da, da, da. Part of me was in denial that I was as traumatized as I am. I was going to say was, but am, by that abusive relationship. I thought, oh, well, I was in an abusive relationship back in 2013. I know how to go through it. That's probably why I'm handling it so well. That's why I'm able to work so much. No. Part of why I could work so much was because I was disassociating so hard, because I could not, and I was not in a safe environment to process what had happened. So my body had a reaction. I have had complex post-traumatic stress disorder for a while. So I have responded to different traumas in different ways, but never have I disassociated for 4 months with only one 10-minute break. I moved into this place. I did all of it myself. I did get help, from some people, donated to fundraisers that I had up, and I had received about $600 from donations from people, but the rest of it I did myself. I bought this mattress that was $300 myself. I paid rent here for a few months by myself. I bought anything me and Bendy needed. Bendy is my cat, for those of you that don't know. Whatever we needed, and had extra money left over because I was working so much. And I just kept saying to myself, well, I'm working this much, so, clearly I'm fine. Like, there's no way. Because back in the day, when I went through that abusive relationship in 2013, I became homeless after that. Mentally, I was fucked. But guess what? This time, I've been mentally fucked too, this entire time. The only difference was between there and now, though, is I've had experience with it. I had a different trauma response. Now, I'm not saying the only reason you would have the trauma response of hypervigilance mode is because you have gone through something similar before. People can have this the first time they go through trauma. But the first time I had experienced something similar to what I experienced recently, I couldn't do anything. I mean, I also broke my leg, but I had lost my job. I started drinking a lot. I was homeless. I was a fucking mess because I thought I was going crazy when I first started having really bad panic attacks. And I was just a complete mess for a few years. So the only difference between then to now is just my trauma response is different. I'm still a mess. I didn't start really processing everything that happened in that relationship, and it was fucking traumatizing. I was able to talk about it before, but I wasn't able to process it. And now it feels like I got out of that relationship 4 days ago when I snapped out of hypervigilance mode. I stopped disassociating. And so the healing is starting now. And it fucking sucks because I'm in the middle of moving again. So if you have a loved one who has just gone through a traumatic situation, or even in the last year, fuck, I mean, people could probably be disassociating like I was in hypervigilance mode for much longer. And it's happened to me before, but in shorter amounts of time, not months. If you have a loved one and they're working their ass off after going through a traumatic situation, they're not fine. Okay? They might be saying they're fine. They might even think they're fine. Part of me did think, okay, I'm just handling this better because I've gone through something similar. Especially if you notice they're working a lot. Because, I mean, I had 7 days where I didn't sleep because I was working so much. I mean, I've started this successful business, but now, because I work for myself, if I'm not working, I'm not really bringing money. I don't have paid sick days. I can't just take some mental health days. I mean, I can. I guess that's where I trust, the universe is everything's going to be taken care of, because it has to this point. But also, a lot of that was because I was in fucking hypervigilance mode for a really long time. So if you are disassociating, or this sounds familiar to you, and you're figuring out just by me saying this that you're disassociating because you went through a traumatic experience and you just worked so hard, I'm not trying to scare you. If this sounds familiar, please find a therapist so you can work through this. Those of you that have been wondering how I've been doing this and how I've accomplished so much in these 4 months since leaving that relationship, I didn't feel like I had a choice. I had other options, but I didn't have the option to go home to my parents' house like a lot of people do. I didn't have the option to call my parents and ask for help financially. The only person that could get me to the point I'm at now was me. And again, of course, I did get help from a lot of you donation-wise and everything in the start of all this, and that also helped me get to where I am. But having this place and going to visit my family for Christmas, like being able to afford that and everything else I've been able to afford since I moved into this place, is because I've been working myself into the ground. And now that I started therapy, and now that I've worked myself into the ground for so long, I am in extreme burnout and everything is hitting me all at once. Like, it literally feels like I left that relationship less than a week ago. But that's because I just started coming back into my own body about 4 days ago. So I'm going to talk more about this and other types of trauma responses, how to navigate them. And since this is a first for me, disassociating for this long and being in hypervigilance mode for that long on that deep of a level, I want to share with people what I'm doing now, how I'm taking care of myself, healing, and what the healing process looks like. So I'm going to share more about that with you guys. If you are going through this, you know someone that you think might be going through this, I'm going to be talking about this a lot more on my page, like how to navigate it, the healing process, and then how to navigate once you snap out of the disassociative hypervigilance state, what it feels like, and the things I'm doing to self-soothe and cope, how I'm taking care of myself now, and the things I'm doing just to navigate all of this. The first thing I would recommend, though, if you have gone through something traumatic, is try and get into therapy. If you can't, try and find someone else to talk to. I'm going to continue this topic. I want to talk about this more, this particular, like, being dissociative and hypervigilant for that long and snapping out of it, what it feels like, how to heal from it, all of it, how to process everything. I'm going to bring you guys along for the ride. If you're new to my page, hello, go check out what other things I talk about, but most of it is about the healing and spiritual journey. I just think this is an important topic because it's not talked about a lot. So I love you guys. Talk soon. Bye.